Everyone knows and talks about how movies look good, but not many people know what contributes to the look of movies. Let's break it down. Many people might assume that it is the camera that makes movies look like movies. I've often shown things I've shot to people only to get the dreaded, "Whoa, you have a nice camera" response. To spend my whole life up to this point developing my craft, only to have it boiled down to what camera I choose to shoot on, it's downright disrespectful. The camera is, in fact, one of the least important aspects of what makes movies look the way they do. I would argue, if you are preparing to shoot your first film, the camera should be the least of your concern. There's so many other aspects of the process which will have a significantly higher impact on the final image than the camera. To prove this, let's think back to the 1970s and 80s, a time period that brought us films like Indiana Jones, Apocalypse Now, Taxi Driver, The Shining, and Blade Runner. The list goes on almost indefinitely. Obviously not indefinitely, because they made a finite number of movies in the 70s and 80s. Most films from this period were shot on 35mm Kodak Eastman's 5247 100T2, which I have talked about at length in my Indiana Jones video. Go check it out at this link in the corner of your screen, please and thank you. According to my research, this film stock had about 7 to 9 stops of dynamic range. Compare that with arguably the best current camera with a sensor roughly the same size as one frame of 35mm film, the Arri Alexa 35, which has an impressive 17 stops of dynamic range. That is over double the amount of dynamic range. With fewer stops of dynamic range, the camera can't collect as much detail in both the bright and dark parts of the scene at the same time, thus forcing the cinematographer to make a decision while exposing the image. But when a camera has an incredible 17 stops of dynamic range, the cinematographer can be a bit lazy and make those decisions in post-production rather than on set. This causes less spectacular and interesting choices to be made. But when cinematographers had only a handful of stops to work with, they were forced to make creative decisions based on the resources that they had at hand. Take all the silhouette shots in Raiders of the Lost Ark, for example. Douglas Slocum decided to allow Indy to fall into shadow for greater effect rather than just keeping everything lit. He could have easily pulled another light or 3 off the truck to illuminate Indy's face, which at that level is no problem. He has plenty of crew to make that happen, but the choice was made to leave Indy in shadow, and that's sort of beautiful. All of this technical information brings me to how I keep myself organized making these videos. TANA. My videos might seem like disjointed rambles, but I put a lot of thought into what tangents are worth going down and which should stay on the sidelines. TANA is a productivity app with cool AI tools built in to help keep you organized, take notes, and just be more productive. By far, my 2 favorite features of TANA are the mobile app and the super tag features. I love using their mobile app to take voice memos of things that I think of while out on the go. Then I tag the voice memos with super tags, which essentially function exactly like hashtags do on social media, but for your ideas. You can easily categorize different ideas or concepts using these super tags. So my favorite way to do this is I tag a voice memo in my brainstorming super tag, then I just spew what's in my brain stream of consciousness style, and let TANA's AI summarize what I've been saying. And it really does a good job. I was skeptical at first. I was like, there's no way this works very well. But it really does. Like, I can just be out on a walk and start talking about things, and it just works. No matter what you do with your time, TANA can help you spend it more efficiently. Try TANA out for free at the link in the description. Now back to this week's ramble. Bringing the conversation back around to the topic at hand, this is all to say that, in my opinion, the camera plays the smallest role in the look of a film. The more you spend on purchasing or renting a camera, the more niceties you have, of course, but those don't directly translate to a good image. They only directly translate to a good workflow on set and in post-production. I think you can create a good image out of essentially any camera. Another lovely example of the price of the camera not mattering to the final result is the film Pacification, which was shot entirely on Blackmagic Pocket 6K Pro cameras, which can be purchased for less than a third of what the viewfinder on the Alexa 35 cost you. But that being said, my perfect camera, honestly, is obviously the Alexa 35. It gets you a laundry list of niceties, and many gorgeous films have been shot on it so far, but I strongly believe that it wasn't solely due to the camera. Another camera I really love shooting on lately, the Canon C300 Mark III. This thing rocks, dude. Canon cooked with this camera, and you can get a full kit for like $5,000 or less on eBay right now, which is such a great deal for a camera. It's obviously aging quickly, but it has all those niceties I was talking about earlier. It has internal NDs. It has, I believe, like 14 or 15 stops, please don't quote me, of dynamic range, which is a ton, considering the Alexa 35, a $90,000 camera, has 17. It's right in that range. And it can shoot Canon RAW, which is a lovely, easy to work with file format for everyone involved. And it comes in this cute little package that you can build up or build down, you know? It's not too heavy, it's not too light. Lovely. Favorite camera. Taking one step in the right direction are the lenses a cinematographer decides to shoot on. Lenses can have a direct impact on the look of a film. Lately, there has been a huge resurgence in vintage glass being used on projects. Hollywood seems to be going away from grabbing the cleanest possible image, and I'm here for it, let me tell ya. But that being said, this decision is one that should always be solely based on the story of the film. Story comes first, of course, always. Just because a DP likes to shoot on old glass for the aesthetic it brings a film does not necessarily mean that it should be shot on old glass. And that's why so many films are shot on master primes. They're the peak of clean glass. They've been perfectly engineered to have limited flares, virtually no breathing, and no geometric distortion, meaning a wide-angle lens won't distort the corners of the frame as much as some other cheaper glass. It obviously comes at a huge price tag. I believe you can purchase them for around $35,000 a lens. They probably rent in the $600 a lens range per day, which is insane. They functioned excellently for Sir Roger Deakins when shooting Blade Runner 2049, a gorgeous film that won Deakins his first Oscar. He needed no extra texture from lenses to achieve this. They had all he needed, as he was able to craft a look around these lenses rather than relying on them for the entire look. But sometimes the story calls for some fun texture and character. Take Wim Wenders' film Perfect Days. This was shot on Canon K35 lenses, some of my favorite. I'd love to shoot on them sometime, but they are so pricey, and there are not a lot of them left in the world right now, but sort of the pinnacle of vintage glass, if you ask me. They aren't as characterful as some other old lenses, but they were perfect for this film. I love the idea of shooting a film set in Japan on Japanese lenses, just a lovely added touch. But these lenses do have some lovely character in the bokeh. Look at this shot of our main character by the water at night. Look at those lovely swirls in the bokeh. Mwah. Chef's kiss, baby. This is all to say that the lens absolutely plays a role in making movies look like movies. For example, shooting a movie on some boring photoglass just doesn't really create the same effect. An audience can tell the difference, regardless of whatever your favorite YouTuber says, between shit glass and good glass. But the lens doesn't provide all of the look. Light proves to be the most important aspect of making movies look like movies. This doesn't even necessarily need to be artificial light. There's something to taking advantage of certain times of day to impact the look of a film, and that doesn't need to cost you any money. But at the highest level, with money to spend, a cinematographer is able to manipulate and control light however they please. Take, for example, a hot sunny day at high noon. When your mom takes your photo, you look like hot garbage. The shadows created on your face from your nose and eyebrows are the opposite of pleasing. But now, put your mom with her trusty iPhone at sunset with the sun behind you. She somehow manages to snap a decent photo. Impressive? Lucky? You decide. But the important thing here is quality and direction of light. A good cinematographer knows when to use different qualities, colors, and directions of light to most effectively tell the story the director is trying to tell. Once again, the story is what dictates all here. These are all just tools in a cinematographer's toolkit. They all play a role in the final product, but they do not dictate what the film is. Take, for example, this scene from No Country for Old Men in which Anton Chigurh just cleared out a room of men with a shotgun. Then he sits on a bed. He is lit from below by a fallen lamp with a shade knocked to the side. The hard light from the bare bulb lights his face in a way that morphs and contorts shadows around his face. It has a haunting effect on the audience. He looks like a monster. Compare this with this scene where he is lit more traditionally. He could be any man. He is mostly unassuming. But this brings me to one of the most important aspects to a film's look, the production and costume design. This is an area that I have little knowledge in, so I'll keep it brief. I mostly talk about cinematography on this channel, but production designers just need to get some recognition. Movies look like movies because of the production design. It is truly what separates the top from the rest of us. One can only light a room so well without it being meticulously curated to look a certain way, the look falls flat. So all of these aspects while shooting a film contribute to the look, but it is important to mention the importance of the grade on the final image. I'm personally a huge fan of getting as much as I can in camera while I'm shooting, but it is impossible to ignore the importance of a good grade when creating a piece of film. A good grade can transform an image. I know I'm in the minority when I say I like getting everything in camera. I think part of my desire to get as much in camera as I can could be from being burned in the past by a bad grade that I didn't have the chance to give notes on. When I am putting my name on a film as a cinematographer, it is just important for me to oversee a grade as it is for me to be on set while shooting. This doesn't always happen, which can be very frustrating. I spend all this time in pre-production and production to achieve the best image I can, and then I can't even see those images before they hit the big screen. Infuriating. But this is all to say that the camera truly is the least important thing in determining the look of a film. A film is the culmination of thoughts and ideas and the collaboration between the director, the cinematographer, the production designer, the costume designers, and of course the actors' performances. They all contribute to what the film looks like in the end, and without every single aspect, it is nothing. The camera is simply there to capture those images. But without all of the other work going in and all of the thought behind the lenses, the filtration in front of the lenses, I didn't even talk about that in this video. And the way the cinematographer shoots and lights a scene, the camera doesn't matter. It truly doesn't matter. And you can get good, dare I say great images with any camera. Alright, peace out y'all. Hope you enjoyed this ramble, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Stay safe. Bye-bye.